She was abandoned in the cold. Now people begged to enter her fortress. When the world froze and the last train left the edge of the map, everyone fled south. Everyone except Lena Volkov. Left with only a backpack and her father's old parka, Lena stood alone in the howling wind, watching snow erase the roads behind her. Abandonment stung, but cold was a sharper pain. She trudged north toward the icy wastes, following faint tracks and memories of stories about survival and stubbornness. She found shelter in a derelict research station, half buried under drifting snow. The walls creaked, the furnace was dead, but Lena had hope and trembling hands. Her first night alone, as frost crawled over the cracked window, she whispered into the darkness, "If they left me here, I'll build something that lasts." Survival demanded everything. Lena scavenged the frozen station. She tore insulation from walls, patched leaks with layers of scavenged plastic, and thawed pipes with heated stones. Her fingers bled and her lips split from cold, but she kept moving. Every morning, Lena melted snow for water, rationed canned food, and inventoried every screw and wire she found. She rewired the generator using old manuals, coaxed it to life, and filled the dark with a single golden bulb. Loneliness pressed against her like a second winter. She kept busy, hunting for lost supply caches, marking paths through the snow, learning the rhythms of the Arctic sun and shadow. Days passed in hard silence, broken only by the whistling wind. Then, one evening, tracks appeared outside her window. A stranger, a boy no older than 16, stumbled from the storm, wrapped in a shredded blanket and shaking from cold. Lena let him in without hesitation. She fed him broth, wrapped him in extra layers, and let him sleep near the humming generator. He was the first, but not the last. A family arrived days later, followed by 2 lost hunters and a woman who carried nothing but a map and a broken radio. Word spread. Someone had survived where everyone else had given up. Someone had built a fortress in the snow. Lena greeted each arrival with the same quiet promise. If you work, you stay. If you share, you live. The frozen north, once a graveyard, was becoming a refuge. The fortress in the snow grew, slowly, painfully, but with undeniable strength. Lena organized the newcomers into work teams. Some insulated walls, others dug out buried entrances or set traps for Arctic hares. A pair of engineers rewired solar panels from abandoned outposts, while the family's father fixed broken radios, searching for news in the static. Each night, they huddled around the warm generator, sharing stories and planning for the next bitter dawn. The fortress itself transformed. Windows were sealed and then double sealed. Tunnels were dug beneath the drifts, linking storage sheds and shelters. A greenhouse was constructed from scavenged glass and heat lamps. Soon, green shoots pushed through trays of thawed soil. Hope glimmered even in the darkest polar nights. Danger was ever present. Wolves howled at the edge of the firelight. A blizzard tore the roof from the storage bay, scattering precious food and tools across the snow. But Lena refused to despair. She rallied everyone to salvage supplies, rebuild, and fortify the walls. When illness spread, a fever brought by the cold, Lena cared for the sick, using old herbal remedies and whatever medicine they had left. Each crisis deepened the bond among the survivors. Trust grew, and so did respect for Lena's quiet leadership. They began to call her the Warden, half in jest, half in awe. And still, more people arrived. A young mother with her infant, a limping hunter with a scar across his cheek, a scientist who brought blueprints for wind turbines. The fortress was no longer just a place, it was a chance. Winter deepened, pressing hard against every window and door. But inside, the community blossomed. Children learned to ice fish in a sheltered cove. The greenhouse's first tomatoes were cause for a feast. Engineers built a wind-powered signal tower, sending out regular broadcasts. Sanctuary in the north. Work, share, survive. With each passing week, new voices crackled over the radio. Pleas for help, offers of knowledge, stories of other scattered survivors. Lena's fortress became a hub for hope. She wrote everything down in a battered notebook. Who arrived, what they could do, what they needed most. She ended every day at the window, staring into the endless white, quietly promising the frozen world, we are still here, and we are not giving up. The sun returned, rising low and red over the endless drifts. After months of darkness, the fortress emerged, blinking into a world of blue and gold. Lena led everyone outside to welcome the thaw. Old machinery was dug from the snow, fences repaired, and paths marked with flags for lost newcomers. The greenhouse became the heart of the community. Herbs, beans, even strawberries took root in warm, damp earth. Meals grew richer, hope more tangible. News arrived from the radio. Other enclaves, inspired by Lena's broadcasts, had survived. An alliance formed, fortresses trading seeds, parts, and stories through the static. The North, once a grave, was now a chain of life. Summer in the Arctic brought its own challenges. Ice melted, rivers roared, and polar bears wandered dangerously close. Lena organized shifts to guard the perimeter and maintain watchtowers. Children learned to read tracks in the snow. Elders taught how to hunt and gather safely. A celebration was held as the first berry harvest ripened. Music, laughter, and old songs filled the midnight sun. The fortress, though still battered and patched, stood proud, its walls covered in murals painted by every new arrival. No longer just a sanctuary, it was a symbol. With new life came old threats. A desperate band of thieves, hearing rumors of warmth and food, attacked at dusk. Lena rallied her people, defending the fortress not with violence, but with discipline and unity. Gates were closed, alarms triggered, and everyone took their place along the walls. In the morning, the attackers fled, defeated by nothing more than the strength of a community that would not be broken. Lena spoke to the survivors. "We built this together. No storm, no hunger, no stranger will take it from us." Her words echoed across the snow, and from that day on, the fortress was known not just for survival, but for strength and courage. As the years passed, the fortress thrived. New technologies were adapted to the frozen world. Solar reflectors melted ice for fresh water, wind turbines powered lamps, and engineers crafted insulated sledges to reach distant outposts. The population swelled as more refugees found their way north. Old storage rooms became classrooms. Children learned science, languages, and the old art of survival from everyone who had endured. Lena grew into a symbol of hope. She taught leadership by example, mending fences, listening to arguments, celebrating every small victory. Once, a group arrived with nothing but musical instruments. Their concerts filled the common hall with warmth that not even the harshest winter could chill. With growth came decisions. Some argued for expansion, more greenhouses, longer tunnels, new towers to welcome the ever-increasing population. Others feared that growing too large would make them a target or stretch their resources thin. Lena called a great meeting in the main hall. She listened as everyone spoke, then quietly offered her wisdom. "We are not here because it was easy. We are here because we chose to build, not to run. Let's grow, but only as fast as we can care for each other." A plan emerged. Each year, they would send teams to scout for resources and safe places to build satellite shelters. Inclusion, not conquest, would be their future. Alliances flourished across the frozen wastes. The signal tower's reach grew. Other fortresses, some as far as the polar sea, answered Lena's calls for unity. Exchanges of supplies and knowledge became routine. One outpost traded Arctic fox furs for medicine. Another sent dried fish in return for greenhouse seeds. An annual gathering was held, with delegates from every northern community sharing their challenges and victories. Stories were swapped, friendships forged, and a map was drawn. No longer just of dangers, but of hope. The fortress Lena built was no longer alone. A network stretched across the Arctic, bound by trust and the relentless warmth of people who refused to let the cold win. The seasons cycled, each winter testing the resolve of the North. One year, a blizzard swept across the entire region, lasting longer than any before. Snow piled so high that the fortress's doors disappeared, and even the signal tower vanished in the white. Inside, food stores dwindled. Children huddled in shared beds for warmth, and the community sang songs late into the night to keep fear at bay. Lena organized rationing, led daily exercises to keep bodies strong, and rotated duties so no one felt alone in the darkness. When the storm finally broke, they emerged to find the world transformed, a landscape of glittering ice, new challenges, and unbroken hope. The gathering that year was held in gratitude, not just for survival, but for the lesson that no one is truly alone. With every year, the fortress became less a refuge and more a city. New arrivals brought skills and dreams. A doctor opened a clinic, a teacher started a library, and a pair of young inventors built the North's first ice-powered vehicle. Children learned from the elders, and elders found new purpose in passing on knowledge. Winter games and summer festivals became traditions, and the fortress walls bore the marks of every person who had called it home: carvings, paintings, and names. One summer, a child born in the fortress stood on the highest tower and asked, "Why do we stay when the world below is green and warm?" Lena smiled, answering softly, "We are not trapped here. We are free. This is where we made something beautiful from the cold." But time spares no one. Lena's hair turned white as snow, her hands worn but gentle. She spent more time recording memories, mentoring new leaders, and watching the stars from her favorite perch atop the main tower. The community she built now led itself, guided by counsel, bound by love, and always open to newcomers who shared their values. On the fortress's 50th anniversary, the community held a grand celebration. Lena was carried into the hall, honored by every generation. A young child, descended from the very first family she sheltered, asked, "Will you ever leave us, Warden?" Lena pressed the child's hand and replied, "I will always be here, in the walls and the warmth, in the courage you carry. As long as you build together, I will never be gone." Her words became a promise, echoing in every stone. Decades passed, and the fortress in the north became legend. The great halls were filled with music and laughter, winter gardens flourished under glass domes, and new towers gleamed with solar lights and banners made by children. Satellite settlements dotted the frozen horizon, connected by insulated tunnels, sled trails, and unwavering trust. Lena, now frail but always present, was revered as the founder of a culture, one rooted in kindness, courage, and ingenuity. She was sought for advice by delegates from distant outposts, and her journals became required reading for young leaders. The annual gathering drew crowds from across the north, a living mosaic of survival and hope. Every speech began with a moment of silence, honoring the storms survived and the loved ones lost. One night, as the aurora danced above, Lena called her closest friends and students to the tower's top room. She spoke quietly, her words carried by the wind. Cold is only the absence of warmth. We chose to build, to share, to care. That is how we won, not against winter, but against fear. The group sat with her through the night, as dawn painted the sky with gold. Lena's final winter was peaceful, full of reflection and gentle goodbyes. She spent her days surrounded by children, teaching them how to set traps, mend gloves, and tell stories that made the darkness feel less cold. The fortress ran smoothly under new leadership. A council of elders and young dreamers guided decisions, blending Lena's wisdom with new ideas. Traditions flourished: lantern festivals, storytelling nights, and the custom of greeting each sunrise together, no matter how cold. In her last days, Lena asked to see every corner of her fortress one more time. She visited the greenhouse, where tomatoes climbed toward the light. She listened to the laughter in the schoolroom, watched friends skate on a windswept lake, and stood atop the tower, gazing out at a horizon shaped by love and determination. She whispered, "It was worth every storm." That night, she fell asleep by the fire, her hand held by the child of a child she had once saved. Lena Volkov's name became a psalm and a blessing, spoken on the lips of every traveler who braved the northern roads in search of hope. The fortress thrived, growing into a network of cities where no one was ever left behind. Her journals were copied and sent to distant lands, inspiring new generations to build their own sanctuaries in the wild. Each year, on the night of the first frost, every home lit a lantern and placed it in the window, a beacon for the lost and a tribute to the woman who turned exile into sanctuary. On the fortress walls, beneath a carving of Lena's likeness, a plaque reads, "She was abandoned in the cold. Now people begged to enter her fortress." In the warmth of their homes, with stories crackling in the firelight and laughter echoing through the halls, Lena's people remembered her words. "We survived because we chose each other. As long as you keep building, I am with you." And so, through every storm and every dawn, the fortress endured, a shining promise against the endless winter.